Stop. Don't move. Just listen for a second. Imagine you are sitting inside a steel box. The walls are 4 inches of hardened armor plate designed to stop an anti-tank shell traveling at the speed of sound. You are sitting in the most powerful machine on Earth. You feel safe. You feel invincible. But you are wrong, because right now, inside this unbreakable box, you are dying. And the terrifying part? You don't even know it. You feel strange. You feel heavy. Your eyelids weigh 1,000 pounds. There is a sweet metallic taste in your mouth, like sucking on a penny. You feel weirdly happy, almost drunk. Your commander is screaming at you to fire, screaming that the enemy is right in front of you, but his voice sounds like it's coming from the bottom of a swimming pool. You try to lift your hand to the trigger, but your arm belongs to a statue. It won't move. You just slump forward, your forehead resting on the cold steel of the telescopic sight. There is no blood. There is no bullet hole in your chest. The enemy didn't penetrate your armor. The enemy is inside. It is in the air you are breathing. Welcome to the steel coffin. Welcome to the carbon monoxide trap, the invisible killer that wiped out more elite crews than any landmine ever could. Let's go back. July 7th, 1944, Normandy, France. We are deep in the bocage country near Saint-Lô. This is a nightmare landscape of ancient hedgerows, walls of dirt and twisted roots, so thick that not even a tank can drive through them easily. Hidden in the shadows of one of these hedgerows sits a German Panther WWII. This is the pride of the Panzer division. The machine is a marvel of engineering, fast, lethal, with sloped armor that makes Allied shells bounce off like pebbles. Inside the turret, Sergeant Friedrich Weber is scanning the tree line. Friedrich is not a rookie. He is a survivor. He spent 2 years on the Eastern Front. He has seen the frozen hell of Russia, survived the massed artillery of Stalin, and dodged Allied fighter bombers. He knows how to kill. But today, Friedrich feels a knot in his stomach. It isn't fear of the Americans, it's a fear of his own machine. His tank is perfectly positioned. It's an ambush. Down the narrow dirt road in front of them, a column of American armor is approaching. It's the dream scenario, a shooting gallery. Friedrich presses his throat mic and gives the order. Target ahead, range 600 yards, fire. His gunner is a 19-year-old kid named Klaus. Klaus is sharp, fast, and deadly. He stomps on the firing pedal. The massive 75mm main gun roars. The entire 45-ton vehicle rocks back on its suspension. Dust kicks up from the floorboards. Downrange, the lead American Sherman tank erupts into a ball of violent orange flame. Direct hit. But in tank warfare, you don't celebrate. Speed is life. If you stop firing, the enemy finds you. And if they find you, you die. Friedrich screams, "Reload! Rapid fire! Keep hitting them!" This is where the clock starts ticking. Not the clock on the wall, but the biological clock ticking down inside their lungs. Klaus fires again. Boom! Another hit. The loader, a strong man named Hans, grabs the hot handle of the breech block. He rips it open to eject the spent shell casing. A heavy, smoking brass cylinder clatters onto the metal floor of the turret. Hans grabs a fresh shell, slams it in, and the breech slams shut. But here is the physics of death that nobody talks about. When that massive cannon fires, the explosion of the propellant generates a massive cloud of toxic gas, ammonia, nitrogen oxides, and the silent assassin, carbon monoxide. In a modern tank, like an American Abrams or a German Leopard, there is a bulge on the barrel called a bore evacuator. It sucks the gas out the front of the barrel. But in 1944, that technology didn't exist. The barrel of a Panther was just a long steel straw. When Hans opens the back of the gun to reload, physics takes over. A vacuum effect occurs. The wind blows in from the end of the barrel, pushing all that thick, white, acrid smoke backward directly into the faces of the crew. With every single shot, the concentration of poison in the air doubles. Third shot, boom! The turret is filling with a blue-gray haze. Klaus blinks. His eyes are burning. The ammonia is stinging his tear ducts, making it hard to see the sight. Fifth shot, boom! Hans, the loader, is coughing violently. He's spitting up black phlegm onto the shell casings. The air tastes like burnt gunpowder, rusted metal, and bitter omens. But they don't stop. They can't stop. The adrenaline of combat is a powerful drug. It masks the pain. When you are fighting for your life, you ignore the headache that is starting to pound behind your eyes like a hammer. Eighth shot. The interior of the Panther is now a gas chamber. The tank has a small electric fan in the roof designed to suck out smoke, but let's be honest about German engineering. It was overcomplicated and unreliable. The fan is noisy. It whines. In the heat of battle, Klaus, like many commanders, had turned it off. Why? Because he needs to hear. He needs to hear if American infantry are sneaking up on the hull with sticky bombs. So, the fan is off, the hatches are locked tight to stop shrapnel. The Panther, designed to be waterproof so it could drive underwater across rivers, is now an airtight seal. Nothing gets in, but nothing gets out. 10 shots in 2 minutes. The air is toxic sludge. Klaus is glued to his optic. He's breathing shallow, rapid breaths. He's trying to focus on the next target. But carbon monoxide is treacherous. It is a biological bully. It bonds to the hemoglobin in your blood 200 times tighter than oxygen does. It essentially hijacks your blood cells. It begins to starve your brain of oxygen cell by cell. But it doesn't feel like choking. You don't gasp for air. The first symptom of severe CO poisoning is actually euphoria. It's a high, a gas drunk. Suddenly, Friedrich spots a threat. An American M10 tank destroyer has spotted their muzzle flash. Its turret is slowly rotating toward them. That M10 has a high-velocity gun that can crack their armor. Friedrich screams, "Klaus, target 2 o'clock, tank destroyer, kill it!" Friedrich waits for the recoil. He waits for the noise. 1 second passes. 2 seconds. The M10 is leveling its gun. "Klaus, fire, damn you, fire!" Silence. Just the hum of the engine and the ringing in his ears. Friedrich looks down from his commander's cupola. He looks at Klaus. The gunner isn't dead. He isn't slumped over. Klaus is sitting upright. His eyes are wide open, staring at nothing. But his skin is wrong. It's a bright, vivid cherry red. That is the classic, undeniable sign of carbon monoxide saturation. Klaus has a stupid, loose smile on his face. His hands are resting on the traverse controls, but they are limp. His brain is sending signals, move, fire, kill, but the nerves are dead. He has lost all motor function. He is a statue inside a burning building. Friedrich looks at the loader. Hans has collapsed onto the floor, surrounded by scalding hot brass casings, vomiting violently. Friedrich realizes with absolute horror that his crew hasn't mutinied. They aren't cowards. They are incapacitated. His 45-ton Panther, the predator of the battlefield, has just become a stationary coffin. Clang! The American shell hits them. It glances off the sloped front armor. A ricochet. A miracle. But Friedrich knows that miracles don't happen twice in Normandy. He has an impossible choice to make, a choice that no training manual prepared him for. If they stay buttoned up inside, they pass out in 30 seconds and die from the gas, or the next American shell kills them while they sleep. If he opens the hatches to vent the smoke, he breaks the armor seal. The air outside is filled with shrapnel, sniper bullets, and mortar fire. Opening the hatch is an invitation to instant death. Friedrich chooses life. He gasps, his own head swimming with dizziness, and screams, "Ventilate! Open everything!" He forces his heavy commander's hatch open. The freezing cold air of the French morning rushes into the turret. It hits him like a bucket of ice water. He drops down, grabs Klaus by the collar of his uniform, and starts slapping him hard. He slaps the bright red, sweaty face of his gunner until the boy blinks. Klaus looks around, confused, terrified, like a man waking up from a nightmare, totally unaware that he almost just died. They have to sit there, helpless, for 2 agonizing minutes. The fan whirs to life. The breeze clears the poison. For those 2 minutes, the mighty Panther is a sitting duck. This wasn't a freak accident. This was the norm. This was the hidden reality of the war. The Wehrmacht manuals had warnings about gas schutz, gas protection. They had rules. After firing X number of rounds, stop and ventilate. But imagine being in that tank. Imagine seeing 3 enemy tanks rushing you. Do you tell the enemy, "Excuse me, can we pause? I need to air out my room"? No, you keep firing. You keep firing until the enemy burns or you black out. And it wasn't just the Germans. On the Eastern Front, inside the Soviet T-34s, it was even worse. The Russians were mass-producing tanks so fast, they often skipped effective ventilation systems entirely. Red Army crews went into battle with their hatches bolted open, not because they were brave, but because of biological necessity. They preferred to risk a hand grenade being thrown into the turret than face the slow, sleepy death of the gas. It wasn't just the main gun either. The machine guns, the coaxial MG-34s, fired 900 rounds per minute. In the intense urban fighting of Stalingrad or Berlin, tanks would fire their machine guns for hours, suppressing infantry and buildings. The interior of the tank would fill with a permanent blue fog. Gunners would finish a battle with blinding migraines that lasted for 3 days. They suffered chronic nausea and long-term neurological damage. They were winning medals for bravery while their brains were being slowly cooked by chemicals. There are documented reports from recovery teams finding tanks that looked perfectly intact. No holes in the armor, tracks fine, engine idling. But when the infantry climbed up and looked inside, they found the entire crew dead at their stations. No blood, no wounds, just 5 men with bright red skin, killed by their own weapon. They had fired so fast and for so long that they committed chemical suicide before the enemy could even touch them. The technological irony here is brutal. Think about it. German engineers designed optical sights that could hit a target at 3 kilometers. They created steel alloys that could survive a direct hit. They built the most complex engines in the world, but they failed to design a simple vacuum tube to suck out the smoke. It was an engineering oversight that cost thousands of lives. It wasn't until the very end of the war, with the American M26 Pershing and later British designs, that the bore evacuator became standard. That little bump you see on the barrel of every modern tank today, that simple device is the only reason modern tank crews don't suffocate in battle. But for Friedrich and Klaus in 1944, that technology was science fiction. That day in Normandy, the fresh air revived Klaus just enough. Maybe they managed to fire one last shot. Maybe they threw the tank into reverse and retreated into the smoke. But the lesson was burned into their lungs. We love to look at mechanized warfare as a display of power. We see the steel, the horsepower, the explosions. We treat tanks like robots, but we rarely think about the air. We rarely think about 5 fragile human beings locked in a sealed box, fighting a war on 2 fronts, one against the enemy outside and one against basic chemistry inside. This is the true horror story of armored warfare. It's not always a dramatic explosion. It's not always a hero's death. Sometimes it's just a gunner falling asleep in the middle of the apocalypse, lulled into a coma by the sweet almond smell of the gas his own tank created. It is the silent death, and it serves as a grim reminder that no matter how advanced our machines of death become, the weakest link in the chain